I wasn't in any of the photos. The wedding photos, I mean. But I couldn't understand how I wasn't in the wedding photos. Because I had taken pictures with everyone, at my own husband's family wedding, no less. After 10 years of marriage, it was as if I had never existed. My phone trembled in my hand. I looked at the Instagram post on the screen once more. Maybe I had seen it wrong. Maybe there was another angle. Maybe. But I wasn't in any of them. Every photo had the rest of the family. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my sisters-in-law, my brother-in-law, cousins, even neighbors, but not me. It was as if I had been photoshopped out, or had never been photographed at all. Both led to the same conclusion. I was unwanted. I was just beginning to realize this. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 53 years old. I live in Portland, in a suburb called Maplewood Heights. Quiet streets with white picket fences, the smell of coffee every morning, polite greetings with neighbors. The American dream, right? Or so it seemed. Unfortunately, a beautiful street doesn't mean the family you live with is beautiful too. If you're happy with your family, you can be happy even on the ugliest street. But if it's the opposite, it's very hard to be happy. I used to be an English teacher. Now I worked as a part-time library consultant. My shift was from 8 a.m. to noon. I have 2 sons, Jake, 25, a graphic designer in Portland, Michael, 22, a senior in college in Seattle. Both took after their father. Calm, logical men who didn't show their emotions much. My husband, David, was a financial advisor. He'd spent 49 years at Wells Fargo. He was a predictable man. He'd wake up at the same time every morning, drink the same brand of coffee, wear the same colored ties. He was reliable, or so I thought. David and I met 26 years ago. Back then, I was a newly graduated teacher working at a small high school in Beaverton. He was at the beginning of his career, ambitious and kind. Our first meeting was at a book fair in Pioneer Square. I was standing at the Jane Austen booth when he came up beside me and said, "Pride and Prejudice? Classic choice." We both loved books. That's what brought us together at first. "Classics never disappoint," I had replied. "People do," he'd said with a laugh. How right he was. Now what he said that day was happening to me. Our marriage had flowed like a quiet river. No big fights, no big passions either. Just normal. We raised our children, went to Costco on weekends, vacationed at Cannon Beach once a year. Everything was in its place. We portrayed a normal, peaceful, and happy family. But David's family. That's where the real problem was. Having third parties cause disruption in a marriage is really annoying. Because you love your husband, but because of these third parties, you can find yourself on the verge of leaving him, my mother-in-law, Patricia Cole. 68 years old, a retired nurse, always wearing that "I know everything" expression on her face. Her hair always perfectly styled, her lipstick never smudged. Everything in her Lake Oswego home was like a showroom. White carpets, crystal vases, objects not to be touched. She was an authoritarian woman. This side of her scared me. When we first met, she'd asked, "You're a teacher?" As if she were saying, "You're a janitor?" "Yes," I'd said proudly. She'd only said. That was the first note of a judgment that would last for years. People can express so much through facial expressions and body language. My mother-in-law could express her inner thoughts very well through body language. My father-in-law, Roger Cole, was quieter, a retired electrical engineer. He'd chosen to live in Patricia's shadow. He never treated me overtly hostile, but he never defended me either. He was clearly afraid of his wife. I was sure he lived as a refugee beside her, but I couldn't prove it. Then there was David's sister, Jessica, 46 years old, a real estate agent. Self-absorbed, always had the latest iPhone, loved displaying her vacations on Instagram. Her husband Brad was a dentist. They were both different from me, more showy, more visible. They resembled their mother in this way. For years, I ignored everything. their cold behavior toward me during meals together. Patricia giving gifts to my children at Christmas, but not even thanking me. Late invitations to birthdays. Jessica constantly saying, "Oh, we forgot about you." Every time David would say, "You're overreacting, Sarah." He didn't care about my thoughts, because for him, his family was always right. "They're only nice for you," I'd say. I'd tell him they didn't treat me the way they treated him. He thought I was exaggerating. "Mom's a bit strict, but she doesn't mean any harm," he'd insist. I stayed silent. For years, I stayed silent, because sometimes a woman makes a choice. Either fight or keep the peace. I chose peace. For my children. For my marriage. I always thought this was how it should be. What do you think about this? Let's meet in the comments. But that night, when I saw that Instagram photo, the silence I'd accumulated for years exploded. Jessica's cousin was getting married. A girl named Amber, 29 years old, lived in California. The wedding was to be held at a vineyard in Napa Valley. The invitation had come to us too. David wanted to go. I wasn't very enthusiastic, but I didn't refuse. "Family is important," David had said. "Are you sure your family sees me as family?" I'd asked. "Sarah, please, don't start again." I didn't start. I went. I remember the wedding day. It was a hot Saturday in September. I wore a light blue dress, put my hair up. David wore his navy suit. We left early in the morning, arrived in Napa in the afternoon. The vineyard was magnificent. The grapevines sparkled in the sun, wooden tables covered with white cloths, the scent of lavender filled the air. Everyone was happy. During the ceremony, we sat in the back rows. David's family was in the front row. When Patricia noticed me, she gave a slight nod, then turned her head away, as if I were a stranger. During cocktail hour, I stood in the corner. David was chatting with relatives. I was leaning against the wall with a glass of wine in my hand. Jessica came up to me. "Oh, Sarah, I didn't know you were here," she said with an artificial smile. "I got my invitation," I said calmly. Of course. It's just very crowded, you know." Facing these sentences, I was amazed at how I had tolerated this for 10 years. Everything was for my husband and children. During dinner, David and I were seated at a different table from the family. Patricia, Roger, Jessica, and Brad were at the head table. We were at the extended family table, with people I didn't know. David didn't seem uncomfortable. "The venue is very crowded," he said with a shrug. I said nothing. I just ate my meal, smiled, was polite. What could I do? It was a typical wedding day. And since it was my husband's family's wedding, it was quite normal that I didn't know the guests. When it was time for photos, the photographer called out, "Family photos?" David stood up. "Come on, Sarah," he said. We walked together. But just. As we approached the family group, Patricia stepped forward. "David, come here," she said, extending her hand. She didn't even say my name. David moved forward. I also moved forward beside him, not letting go of my husband's hand. Patricia fixed her eyes on me. "Just family," she said. I stopped. "Sarah is family," David said. "Immediate family, David. Otherwise the photo will be too crowded." Jessica also came to her side. "Yes, Mom's right. Then everyone can take separate photos." David looked at me. He hesitated for a moment. Then he didn't object. "Okay, we'll take them later," he said. And he left. I just stood there. In the lavender-scented Napa vineyard. Around me, laughter, applause, happiness. And I was invisible. My husband's mother causing him to distance himself from me had hurt my pride. I was offended and saddened by what my husband had done. The photographer took dozens of shots. The family struck various poses. Patricia had puffed out her chest. Roger stood beside her. Jessica had linked arms with Brad. David stood in the back, like the big brother. They never called me over. I just watched them sadly from the sidelines. Later never came. I still waited like a small child waiting for a balloon. When we got home, David was tired. He went straight to bed. I sat in the living room, in the dark. I thought. The next morning, I opened Instagram. I'd looked at Jessica's story. She'd shared photos from last night. Perfect. Everyone smiling. Below it, hashtags, family, first, love my family. Forever. Cole, I wasn't there. Yes, I really wasn't there. I picked up the phone and showed David. Look, I said. He looked, shrugged. We were going to take them later, but we must have forgotten. You forgot. Sarah, don't blow this up. It's just a photo. 10 years, David. 10 years I've dealt with your family. I've stayed silent through every insult, overlooked every exclusion. And now, it's just a photo? You're overreacting. When I heard that word, something inside me broke, but I didn't cry. I just decided. That night, I didn't sleep. I opened my computer. I went on Reddit. I found the Just No Meal subreddit. I wrote my story. Title: My husband's family excluded me from the wedding photos. What should I do? I hit the send button and waited. Toward morning, my phone started vibrating like crazy. Hundreds of notifications, thousands of upvotes. Comments were pouring in. This is emotional abuse. Your husband should have stood up for you. Leave him. Sue them. You deserve better. Then the media came. BuzzFeed wrote an article. Huffington Post shared it. It trended on Twitter. When David woke up in the morning, he looked at his phone. His face went pale. Sarah, did you write this? Yes. Why? Because I've been silent long enough. That day, David's phone didn't stop. His mother, his sister, his cousins, everyone called. They were angry, embarrassed, humiliated. I didn't think what I wrote could trend this much. I was shocked. Patricia had yelled on the phone, "How could you do this?" "The same way you've done to me for years," I replied. I wasn't staying silent anymore either, and at that moment, I realized I wasn't afraid anymore either. That night, I didn't sleep. I just made plans. The internet had defended me. The people supporting me there had given me strength. The strength my husband hadn't given me. But real life was more complicated. David didn't go to work that morning. He sat in the kitchen, staring at his coffee. We weren't talking. There was only silence, and that silence carried the weight of everything I'd overlooked for years. When his phone rang, he flinched. He looked at the screen. It was Jessica again. He didn't answer. "Sarah," he finally said. His voice was tired. "This has gone too far." "Too far?" I said calmly. I sipped my coffee. My hand wasn't trembling anymore. "David, your family has been ignoring me for 10 years. Cutting me out of a photo was just the last straw. Mom's devastated now. Jessica's crying. Everyone's talking about us." "Good," I said. He looked at me like he didn't know me. Maybe he didn't. Maybe I'd always been there. He just hadn't looked. That day, David went to work. I stayed home, but I didn't sit and cry. I opened my computer, and I started searching for the truth. A woman feels things for years, but she waits for evidence, and I had stopped waiting for evidence. I was going to find the evidence. First, I looked at the bank accounts. David and I had a joint account. Our salaries went there. Bills were paid from there. Everything was organized, or so it seemed. But last year, David had said, "I need to open a separate account for work, for tax convenience." I hadn't objected. I'd trusted him. Now I didn't know that account's password. But I knew David's computer passwords. He always used the same combination: our sons' birthdays. In the afternoon, after David went to work, I entered his study. The laptop was on the desk. I opened it, entered the password I was in. I found the Chase Bank account. Logged in, and what I saw didn't shock me, because I wasn't surprised by anything anymore. In the last 6 months, a total of $24,000 had been transferred from the account. Not from our joint account, but from his work account. To whom? Patricia Cole. My mother-in-law, every month, regularly, $4,000. Why? It said in the note section, "Mom, support." Support? And he was hiding this money he was sending from me. Doesn't secretly sent money lead to distrust in marriage? What would you think in this situation? Patricia's house was in Lake Oswego. The mortgage was paid off. She received a retirement pension. Roger had a retirement fund too. Why did they need support? I dug deeper. I looked at emails. David's Gmail account was still open on the computer. I typed Patricia in the search bar. Dozens of emails. I clicked on one. Date, 3 months ago. Subject, renovation budget. David, we need an additional $8,000 for the kitchen renovation. Roger wants a new oven. Sarah doesn't need to know, right? You'll handle it. David's response, okay, Mom, I'll handle it. Another email, 6 months ago. Subject, Jessica's loan. David, Jessica needs $15,000 for her real estate office. Brad can't help right now, can you? Keep it between us. David's response, of course, Mom, transferring now. I closed the screen. I couldn't breathe. David was transferring our money that I also worked for and contributed to his mother and sister. Without asking me, without telling me, and they all said, Sarah doesn't need to know. Actually, I wouldn't have objected to him sending money to his mother. But doing it secretly made me very angry. What would you do if you were me? Would you stay silent or would you make a countermove? I stood up. My hands were trembling, but not from anger. From determination, I picked up the phone. I typed into Google, Divorce Attorney, Portland, Oregon. I clicked on the first result. Callaway and Associates. The reviews were good. Aggressive representation in family law cases. I filled out the appointment request form. Name, Sarah Mitchell. Subject, consultation, divorce. Send. 5 minutes later, a response came. It wasn't an automated message. It came from a real person. Mrs. Mitchell, we can see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Please bring any financial documents you have. Rachel Callaway, ESCO. The next day, at 2 p.m., I was in Rachel Callaway's office. Downtown Portland, on the 22nd floor, with views of the Willamette River from the windows. Rachel was in her mid-40s, wearing a black suit with sharp eyes. She shook my hand. Mrs. Mitchell, please have a seat. I sat down. I read about your situation. I also saw your Reddit story. It caused quite a stir. I just wrote the truth. You did well. Now tell me about your financial situation. I showed her everything. Bank statements, emails, transfers. Rachel raised her eyebrows. Unauthorized transfers from a joint account. In Oregon, this is a serious problem. What do you mean? Within a marriage, both spouses have rights over joint property. If David made transfers to family members without your knowledge, this can be considered waste of marital assets. That is, waste of marital property. For the first time, I felt a flicker of hope inside. What can I do? First, we document everything. Every transfer, every email, every detail. Then we officially file a divorce petition. And then we request financial disclosure. David will have to present all his accounts, all his assets to the court. What about Patricia and Jessica? Rachel smiled slightly. They're not directly defendants, but if the transfers David made to them are considered waste of marital assets, the court can order you to recover that money. So Patricia might have to give back that kitchen. Jessica, those office furnishings, something swelled inside me. Justice hadn't happened yet. But this was a start. The documents were delivered to David that week, at work. By courier. When he came home that evening, he was bright red. Did you have to send this to my workplace? He yelled. Where did you want me to send it? Sarah, this is so humiliating. Humiliating? David, we're talking about your family humiliating me for years. Now a document embarrassing you is the problem? He didn't speak. That night, he slept in the guest room. The next day, Patricia called. I didn't answer. She left a message. Sarah, this is insane. You're destroying the family. What have you done to David? Call me immediately. I didn't call. Jessica texted too. You're ruining everything. My mom is devastated. How could you? I didn't respond, because for years I'd responded to them with silence, with tolerance, with patience. Now my response was court documents. 2 weeks later, Rachel called. Sarah, we got a response from David's attorney. They've submitted the financial disclosure. What's in it? A lot. But there's an interesting detail. Some of the transfers David made to his mother, Patricia, are recorded as loans. Loans? Yes. So David is saying, I lent money to my mother, but there's no formal contract. No repayment plan. So it's a lie. In court, the burden of proof is on them. If it's really a loan, they'll need to show it's being repaid. What if they can't? Then it counts as a gift, and gifts from marital property require the spouse's consent. You didn't consent. What happens then? The court can order David to compensate for this money. To you. I laughed out loud for the first time. On the phone, Rachel laughed too. Mrs. Mitchell, I think we're going to win this case. The first court hearing was in March, Multnomah County Courthouse, downtown Portland. A concrete building, high ceilings, cold corridors. I saw David there. He was sitting next to his attorney. He didn't look at me. Patricia and Jessica had also come. They were standing in a corner of the corridor. Patricia's face was stern. Jessica's eyes were red. Rachel stood beside me. Are you ready? She asked. I'm ready. We went in. The judge, Judge Ellen Morrison, was a gray-haired woman in her 60s. She looked at us over her glasses. Good morning. Case number 24 DR 5571, Mitchell versus Mitchell. Rachel stood up. Your Honor, we're here for the financial discovery hearing. David's attorney also stood up. A middle-aged man, navy suit, red tie. Your Honor, my client has provided all requested documents. The judge looked at the documents, turned the pages, raised an eyebrow. Mr. Mitchell, I see here that you transferred $24,000 to your mother over 6 months. Is that correct? David stood up. Yes, Your Honor. And this was classified as a loan? Yes, Your Honor. Do you have a promissory note? David hesitated. No, Your Honor. A repayment schedule? No. Any written agreement? It was a family arrangement, Your Honor. The judge removed her glasses. Looked. Mr. Mitchell, in Oregon, marital assets cannot be transferred without both spouses' consent. Did Mrs. Mitchell consent to these transfers? I didn't ask her. Why not? Silence. David's attorney intervened. Your Honor, my client believed these were temporary loans to assist his mother during a difficult time. Difficult time? The judge looked at the documents again. I see here Mrs. Patricia Cole owns a home valued at $650,000, fully paid. She receives pension income. What was the difficult time? David's attorney swallowed. Kitchen renovation, Your Honor. The judge raised her eyebrows. Kitchen renovation is a difficult time? Rachel stood up. Your Honor, may I present additional evidence? Go ahead. Rachel opened the file. She pulled out Patricia's Facebook photos. Luxury restaurants. New kitchen. Vacation photos. Your Honor, Mrs. Cole has been posting about luxury spending during the same period she allegedly needed financial assistance. This is not hardship. This is lifestyle funding. The judge looked at the photos, looked for a long time, then turned to David. Mr. Mitchell, did you inform your wife that you were funding your mother's lifestyle? No, Your Honor. Why not? David couldn't answer. The judge closed the file. I'm ordering full asset disclosure. Mr. Mitchell, you will provide bank statements, tax returns, and any other financial records for the past 3 years. Mrs. Mitchell has a right to know where marital funds went. We'll reconvene in 30 days. The gavel came down. The hearing was over. When I came out, Patricia was waiting in the corridor. She came up to me. Are you happy now? She said. Her voice was trembling. I'm not happy, Patricia. I'm just right. You're destroying this family. Me? My voice rose. For the first time, I was yelling at Patricia. I've endured this family for 10 years. Your every insult, every exclusion, every belittlement, and now I'm the one destroying it? You were never one of us, she said, because you never accepted me. I said. Silence. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. But she didn't cry. She just turned and walked away. Jessica looked after her, then turned to me. I hope you're happy, she said. I'm not, I said in a calm voice. But I'm free now. That week, social media exploded. My Reddit story had become a topic again, this time with court details. Headlines, wife excluded from family photos, wins in court, judge sides with woman against manipulative in-laws. Husband secretly funded mother's luxury life, wife fights back. David's phone wouldn't stop. Work colleagues, relatives, old friends, everyone was talking. Jessica's real estate office filled with Google reviews. She supports her brother stealing from his wife. Would you trust her with your house? Patricia closed her Facebook account. David's promotion at the office was postponed. Public image concerns, they said. You know when a woman wins? When the truth comes out. In April, The second hearing. David's attorney presented a settlement offer. Mrs. Mitchell, my client is willing to offer you 60% of marital assets and full custody arrangements regarding future financial decisions. Rachel looked at me. Do you accept? I thought. Then I spoke. No, I want 50%. Because that's fair. And I also want David to get back the $24,000 he gave to his mother, Patricia. Or compensate me, David's attorney objected. Your Honor, that money was a family loan. The judge raised her hand. Counselor, I've reviewed the evidence. There's no proof of loan repayment, no agreement, no consent from Mrs. Mitchell. This qualifies as waste of marital assets. The gavel came down. Mr. Mitchell, you will compensate Mrs. Mitchell for the $24,000. Payment plan acceptable, but full restitution required. David bowed his head, and when we made eye contact at that moment, he finally understood who had won. Was revenge sweet? Or was it the silence? Maybe both. May, final hearing. The divorce papers were signed. Rachel shook my hand. Congratulations, Mrs. Mitchell. You're free now. David was standing in the courthouse corridor, alone. Patricia hadn't come. Neither had Jessica. I went up to him. David, I said. He looked at me. He was tired. He seemed to have aged. Sarah, I'm sorry. I really am. I know. I wish I'd understood sooner. I wish you'd defended me sooner. Silence. Goodbye. David. Goodbye, Sarah. I turned and walked away. And that morning when the courtroom doors opened, nothing would ever be the same again. The divorce papers in my pocket. The sun on my face, I walked through the Portland streets. From downtown toward home. My car was in the parking lot, but I wanted to walk because for the first time in 10 years, I felt light. That evening when I got home, the house was quiet. David's things were gone now. He'd moved out last week to a small apartment in Beaverton. I had stayed here, in the Maplewood Heights house. The court had given me the house. David would pay half the mortgage. I would live here. My sons called that evening. Jake first. Mom, how are you? I'm good, sweetheart. Really? Really? Silence. Then Jake said, Mom, I'm sorry. For years I didn't notice. How Grandma and Aunt Jessica treated you? You were a child, Jake. No, I was blind. But now I see, and I'm proud of you. My eyes filled. But I didn't cry. I just smiled. Thank you, son. Michael called too. Younger, more hesitant, Mom? I talked to Grandma. What did she say? She was very angry, but I told her, you're wrong. I stood up to her for the first time. Michael, Mom, you were always right. And I'm sorry. I'm on your side now. That night I didn't sleep alone, because there was something inside me. Peace. June came. Summer was enveloping Portland. Sun, green trees, open skies. I continued working at the library. People recognized me now. Oh, you're that woman, they'd say. Some would frown, some would smile, but I didn't care, because I was no longer the invisible woman. One day at the library, a young woman came up to me. She was in her mid-20s, her eyes shy. Mrs. Mitchell? Yes, I read your story on Reddit, and it really affected me. Really? Yes, I'm also going through something similar. My boyfriend's family doesn't accept me at all, and he doesn't defend me either. We sat down. We talked. We had coffee. What should I do? She asked. First, be honest with yourself. Then talk to him. If he's not defending you, maybe they're not your family, she cried. Then thanked me. And at that moment, I understood. My story wasn't just mine. It was other people's story too. In July, a letter came from Patricia. Yes, a letter. Handwritten, in a white envelope. I opened it. Sarah, writing this letter is very difficult. But I must. For years I did you wrong. I know this. I would tell myself, she's not one of us. But the truth is, you were always part of David's family. I didn't accept it. That photo at the wedding, my biggest regret. When I left you out at that moment, I knew your heart was breaking. But ego had blinded me. David is very unhappy now. So is Jessica. And I'm old, Sarah. But my stupidity has never aged. I'm not asking for forgiveness, because I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know you were right about everything, Patricia. As I read the letter, my eyes filled, but I didn't respond, because some wounds don't heal. They're just accepted. August. I made one last post on Reddit. Title: Update. My husband's family excluded me from the wedding photos. I'm free now. Hello. A few months ago, I shared my story. Today, I'm sharing the final update with you. I got divorced. I got my house. I found my peace. David's family apologized. I accepted some, not others. But I don't need their approval anymore. My sons are with me. My friends are with me. And most importantly, I'm with myself. I don't need anyone. If you're also living through a similar situation, I want to tell you this. Silence is power, but so is speaking up. Know which one to choose, and never belittle yourself. True justice isn't revenge. It's freedom. Thank you all. This community gave me courage. I hope I've given courage to someone too. Sarah. Within an hour, the post got 10,000 upvotes. Comments poured in. You're an inspiration. Thank you for sharing your story. You saved my life. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. Queens support queens. That night as I slept, moonlight filtered through the window. The wind gently swayed the curtain, and inside me, for the first time, I was this calm. September. It had been a year since the wedding photo. That photo was still on Jessica's Instagram. But I didn't care anymore, because I didn't want to be in that photo anymore. One day, I went to Cannon Beach with my sons. A weekend trip. Jake, Michael, and me. We walked on the sand, collected seashells. When the sun was setting, we stopped in front of Haystack Rock. Michael took out his phone. Mom, let's take a photo. Okay. The three of us came together. Michael extended his phone, took the photo, then showed it to me. In the photo, I was there. In the middle, my sons beside me. We were smiling, and this time no one had left me out. Perfect, I said. Should I put it on Instagram? Michael asked. Post it, I said. But add a caption. What should I write? I thought, write, real family is those who see you, not those who overlook you. Michael wrote it. Posted it. An hour later, the photo went viral. Thousands of likes, hundreds of comments, and even Patricia had liked it. She didn't comment, just liked it. Maybe this was her way of apologizing. Maybe not, but it didn't matter anymore. October. Autumn was enveloping Portland. Orange leaves, cool air, coffee on the balcony. One morning, an invitation came in the mail. I opened it. Jessica's son was getting married. Tyler, 27 years old. Lived in Seattle. The invitation had come to me too. Sarah Mitchell and guest. I smiled. I texted David. Got an invitation to Tyler's wedding. Did you get one too? Reply came. Yes, are you going? I don't know. Are you? If you go, I'll go. If you don't, I won't either, I thought. Then I wrote, let's go, but separately. And this time, I'll be in the photos too. David wrote, I promise. November, Tyler's wedding. Seattle, a venue near Gasworks Park. I went, alone. I wore a navy dress. Left my hair down, put on makeup. When I entered, I saw Jessica. She was standing at the door. She saw me. She stopped for a moment, then came over. Sarah, Jessica, thank you for coming. I love Tyler. Of course I came. Silence. Then Jessica said, I'm sorry. I really am. I know. Do you forgive me? I thought. Maybe, in time. Jessica nodded, then turned and walked away. During the ceremony, we sat in the front rows. Me, David, Patricia, Roger, Jessica, and Brad family. When it was time for photos, the photographer called out, family photos. I stood up. David came beside me. Patricia looked, then extended her hand. Come, Sarah. Your family too. At that moment, I didn't hear justice. I felt it. I entered the photo. Not in the center, but I was in it, and this time, no one erased me. December. New Year's was approaching. I came home. Maplewood Heights, quiet neighborhood, snowy streets, Christmas lights. I sat in the living room, in front of the fireplace, hot tea in my hand, watching the snow fall from the window. My phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. I answered. Mrs. Mitchell? Yes, my name is Angela Torres. I do a podcast called Unheard Voices. I'd like to invite you to my show. Tell your story. Inspire other women, I thought. I accept. January. The podcast aired, title, The Woman Who Refused to Be Erased. Within a week, 2 million downloads. Then a book offer came. From a publishing house in New York. We'd like to turn your story into a book. I accepted. February. I was writing the book. Title, Seen, A Woman's Journey from Silence to Strength. Wrote every day. Mornings at the library, evenings at home. I was telling my story. But not just mine. Every woman's story. Invisible women, silenced women, excluded women, and women who stood up. March. The book was completed, April. It was printed, May. It was published. It became Rediscovering. Bestseller on Amazon. It made the New York Times list. I gave talks. In Seattle, San Francisco, Chicago, New York. Everywhere, women came, shook my hand, cried, thanked me. You became my voice, they said, and I understood. This wasn't just my story. This was every woman's story. June, a year later. I returned to Cannon Beach, alone this time. I walked on the sand, collected seashells. When the sun was setting, I stood in front of Haystack Rock, and I took a photo, just me. The sun on the horizon, waves at my feet. I put it on Instagram. Caption, True justice isn't revenge. It's being able to walk in peace. An hour later, 100,000 likes. Patricia had commented, proud of you. Patricia, I smiled, and I replied, thank you. Sarah, that day I didn't hear justice. I felt it. As the sun filtered through the curtain for the first time, I was this calm inside, because I was no longer invisible. I was quiet now, but not powerless. I was alone now, but not lost. I was free. True justice isn't revenge. It's being able to walk in peace. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe so that the voice of justice can be heard more. Because every woman's story matters. Every woman's voice should be heard. And remember, you know when a woman becomes powerful? When she's no longer afraid. The end author's note. This story is dedicated to every woman who has ever felt invisible, excluded, or diminished by those who should have loved her most. To every woman who stayed silent to keep the peace. To every woman who finally found her voice. Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard, and you deserve to be seen, truly seen, for who you are. If this story resonated with you, please share it. Because somewhere out there, another woman is standing in the background of a family photo, wondering if she's imagining things. She's not, and she needs to know she's not alone. To all the Sarahs out there, you are not invisible. You are not too sensitive. You are not overreacting. You deserve respect, dignity, and a family that celebrates you, not erases you. Stand up. Speak out. And remember, true justice isn't revenge. It's the freedom to walk away with your head held high, knowing your worth was never theirs to define. Questions for reflection. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family or relationships? What would you have done in Sarah's situation? Do you think Sarah was right to share her story publicly, or should she have handled it privately? At what point should someone choose themselves over keeping the peace? Can families like Patricia's ever truly change, or is distance the only answer? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's create a community where every voice matters and every story is heard. Subscribe for more stories of courage, resilience, and justice, because your story and your voice matter.